FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Example in the most recent presidential address to the Congress, when President Obama delivered his State of the Union address just a few short weeks ago, and he took the not unheard of, but the unusual step of referring to a specific Supreme Court decision during his State of the Union. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd be delighted for a president to actually be aware of a Supreme Court decision if, in fact, that chief executive, that president, did not deliberately and very clearly mischaracterize, for political reasons, to score political points, mischaracterize the position, the opinion of the Supreme Court to which he referred. The case at hand was a case involving our federal campaign laws. The case was called Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. The Citizens United is an organization in Washington, D.C., a conservative-oriented public interest organization. And the case that had resulted in this very important Supreme Court decision to which President Obama referred during his State of the Union address basically had found constitutional defects and flaws in some provisions of the campaign finance law that Senator McCain had championed, and with the law which bears his name, the McCain-Feingold Federal Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act. The president deliberately mischaracterized the decision, was not held accountable for doing so. As a matter of fact, was applauded by certainly members of his party there present in the House chamber listening to the State of the Union. What happened after that was particularly distressing, because you had sitting directly in front of the president, much as you all are here in the House chamber as the president was delivering his State of the Union address, you had seated there, I forget whether it was all or most of the Supreme Court justices, the justices of the United States Supreme Court. The president mischaracterized this Citizens United case as opening the floodgates to campaign corporations buying elections and giving money to candidates. The case, of course, had nothing to do with donations by corporations. It had simply to do with whether or not corporations should continue to enjoy, as they have pursuant to laws in this country and cases in this country for many, many decades, First Amendment rights to express their views and to pay money for advertising. It had nothing to do with corporations contributing directly to candidates. That remains against the federal law. But the president saw an opportunity to throw out a soundbite there, to beat up on corporations, and to do it directly as the Supreme Court justices were sitting there in front of them, which I thought was in bad taste, made worse by what happened next. And that is what appeared to be all the Democratic members of the Senate and the House that were there stood, and they didn't jeer, but through their clapping, they basically, that's what they were doing, looking at and clapping at the Supreme Court justices, mimicking the president's criticism of them.